Welcome to Ensemble. Today we have with us our chief mentor Shri K. Siddhartha, who is a strategic thinker and advisor to many international governments, to share his insights on essays for civil mains examinations with us.
Talking about this topic, that there can be no social justice without economic prosperity, but economic prosperity without social justice is meaningless. The first conclusion that has to be drawn is it's a mixture of two topics. One is society, another is ethics, both of them from your papers. And with this essay, like with all of this essay, the expectation of the UPSC that first, whether you have been able to comprehend the topic of the essay or not, whether you understand what is being asked to you or not. Second is whether you are able to organize your thoughts in this case, whether you are able to structure your thoughts also, whether you are able to put it on paper and in a wording in a language that is going to be very, very good. The third is, the fifth part is expression. Wordings are completely different, but then the same thing, can you express it in 5-6 different ways? Expression. How is it that you allow this flow to take place all throughout? And in this flow, how is it that you want to structure the topic here? And taking into account the flow of the topic here, is it that you go on to logic out the process of coming to a conclusion? And I repeat, logic out the process of coming to a conclusion. It shouldn't be that your main body talks about something different and your conclusion is going to be something that looks forced upon in this case. And of course, the introduction, that is the beginning of the essay as well. Now, having talked about it, coming to the first part, that is what exactly is going to be the meaning of this topic here. There can be no social justice without economic prosperity. That is, unless you go on to bring about social justice, there can never be any type of economic prosperity at all. That's not possible. But economic prosperity without social justice is meaningless. Even though there is economic prosperity and there is no social justice, that means economically a country can go to be very, very prosperous, but then there is no social justice in that region or a country or a nation, then the whole concept of prosperity goes on to become meaningless in this case. That means it has absolutely no meaning, no aim, and nothing at all in this case. Now, this can be defended in two ways. One is going to be ethical, and another, of course, is going to be not always ethical, that is from a perspective of a society also. Now, the topic goes on to talk about economic prosperity first, economic prosperity and social justice. So, you need to know about what exactly economic prosperity is going to be all about. Economic prosperity is going to be generally reflected in a GDP, it is going to be in per capita income, it is the total amount of wealth that one possesses. What wealth? Financial wealth. We are not talking about social wealth, we are not talking about natural wealth, we are not talking about behavioral wealth, we are talking about financial wealth. That is simplified. The components of economic prosperity that way go on to be, first is income. Higher the income, higher is the level of economic prosperity. Resilience, that is the ability of a country or a region to bounce back after some type of debacle. For example, you will always going to understand that Mumbai is very, very resilient. And why is it that we're going to say it's very resilient? It's resilient because twice there have been terrorist attacks in Mumbai, and Mumbai was able to bounce back soon after this terrorist attack. So after this Islamic terrorism, after this Muslim terrorism in Mumbai, Mumbai was able to bounce back immediately. That is resilience of the economy. If India is able to withstand the situation that has arisen out of a pandemic, and it is able to bounce back, then we are going to call that Indian economy is resilient. Third is the distribution of the income. Talking about the distribution of the income, is it that confined in some hands, or is it that the fruits of economic prosperity are going to be borne by a good number of people? Fourth is equity. Of course, that is going to be significant. That is how equable it is going to be. And then sustainability. That means whatever prosperity that goes into exist, is it going to be existing right now, or is it that it will go on to exist even in the future as well? Or has it got any potential of taking itself out into the future as well? So can it be sustained? Or is it that it's a prosperity only for some months or maybe only some years of sorts? That is a sustainability. And of course, last is going to be the enlargement of the choice of the people or the choice of the country. That is, talking about the people first, even though some people may going to be having a very high amount of an income, is it that they are able to enlarge their choice by being in a peaceful place if they like? If the answer is no, then it's no prosperity at all. For a country, if it is even if it, that the country is very, very prosperous and it has lost trust of the whole of the world, is it that it is going to be an enlargement of the choice of this country? Answer is absolutely no. Ask China, with all the wealth that it goes into be having it as of now, right now, China has lost trust of good number of countries. So even though it wants to enter into certain type of an alliance, a certain type of a tie-up with some of these countries, it will not going to have a choice because those countries will not going to allow it to happen. And that is the economic component associated with it. There is a second component as well, and that is going to be the spiritual component. That is, one form of economic prosperity is to make everyone happy. So why to keep anyone unhappy at all? That is the question that we have posed. But then to keep everyone happy. If it is that the people are happy no matter what exactly is the income, whatever may be the income, that country is going to be prosperous, that region is going to be prosperous, and that society is going to be prosperous. That is the concept of prosperity as we go to know. So, having talked about the definition of prosperity, that brings us into the meaning of social justice. Now, social justice is a view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. Not only rights, but opportunities as well. That means if I don't going to be having an opportunity despite possessing a good amount of a talent, then this is a no social justice at all. Social justice must encompass economic justice. That is, there shouldn't be anomalies in the distribution of economic benefits in this case. Social justice is the relationship of balance between individuals and society, that is, individual and the society, what the society intends to do, what the individuals intend to do, measured by comparing distribution of wealth differences. That means the basic plank in this case is that there shouldn't be stark wealth differences that go on to exist from one person to another person. That goes on to become a part of it. And of course, it is going to from personal liberties to fair privilege opportunities as well. It is referred to as the process of ensuring that individuals fulfill their societal roles. And in trying to fulfill these societal roles, they receive what is due from their society. So social justice is going to be fairness. It is going to be fairness. It's a fairness because it manifests itself in a society, as it manifests itself in society. And that includes fairness where? Fairness in healthcare. That means everyone goes on to be having a fair healthcare. Fairness in employment, fairness in housing, and even more. Discrimination and social justice are not compatible. Well, social justice is a term sees widespread use in these days. That is, it means that is it going to be actually talking about justice, or is it going to be a camouflage discrimination? And that is what exactly goes into our main plank. Social justice assigns rights and duties in the institutions of society. That means it assigns everyone certain type of a duty. Some people have a right, Now, this enables people to receive the basic benefits and burdens of cooperation. That means they have to cooperate, they have to give some of these things back to the society, and they're going to receive some of these things back for themselves. And it's like they're going to give taxation and in favor of it. What they're going to get is that they're going to get a lot of health, public health, schooling, education, public services, labor law, and a variety of these things. So the institutions which go on to be included in this aspect go to be taxation, social insurance. That means you pay money to the government, and in turn the government goes in to provide you with social insurance, public health, public schooling, public services, labor law, and what not in this case. That is also going to be associated with the regulation of markets, opportunities, encashments, undiscriminated administration. That means the administration is not tuned towards some person. It is not going to be tuned towards certain areas of power or prestige. And of course, flexibility of institutions, meaning that an institution is always going to be not too rigid. Institution means, let's say, social institutions like marriage. It's not going to be too rigid. There is going to be good amount of flexibility. Some of these economic institutions, let's say like some of these things like banking institutions, they are flexible to allow people to get adapted, and it adapts itself to that situation. It also allows people to have a career transitioning choice. And when we're going to be talking about career transitioning choice, that means that the people who may have moved out on a career, then they realize that that may not be their cup of tea, and they think that they must go on to get to something new. So we are going to be talking about increasing ability to adjust to a new type of a career. That means if they have a talent, if they have an attitude, they must go to move from one career to another career. That is career transitioning choice. And an increasing ability to adjust to the newly emerging gig economy. That is their ability to adjust and adapt to gig economy, along with a will and an ability to ensure fair distribution of wealth. Will, that is the willingness, ability, that means they are able to do it so. And of course, to all of those people who go to be part of it, that means with equal amount of an opportunity also in this case. So, when we go to be talking about all of these aspects, that goes on to make it a social justice. But social justice also refers to an individual's ability to reform the existing system. It's like I feel that some of these institutions require to be reformed. So I talk about it. I think that stands a complete correction. So I am able to do it so, and I do it so. It also talks about ability to bring the society back from any type of disorder. That is, I do go on to see that is some of the components of society are in a very disorderliness manner, like education. And I think that I can go on to contribute to bringing this society back from the brink of it. So what I can go on to do is that I can go on to contribute to it, and my contribution will be acknowledged. So, and being a passive participant along with other policymakers in shaping the future of the country that I can go to envision. That means I have a future for my own country, and I envision it, and that I am able to bring that envisioned future along with myself. And while doing it so, I don't go on to find any type of obstruction in this case at all. So, social justice is the ability to carve a niche for one's identity based on one's ability, talent, and will. Social justice also doesn't stipulate giving money to the people of the society and make them cash rich. Rather, it is an opportunity. It is for the purpose of empowering the people to use that money. And even more importantly, it is about creating opportunities for all of the people of the society so that they can go to utilize their talent and human resources to build their identity as well. Social justice goes on to encompass certain things like economic justice. When we are talking about economic justice is the virtue which guides us in creating those organized human interactions which we go on to be calling it as institutions. We are talking about social justice means that there must be economic justice. And economic justice is going to be all about how is it that we're going to interact with those type of institutions in an organized manner. In turn, these institutions, when they are going to be organized, provides us with access to what is good for the person. It's like I contribute to a university. The university goes on to make its education system very good for me, for maybe for my children. So it is going to be both individually or in association with the others also. Social justice also imposes on each of us a personal responsibility to work with others. That means with the whole of this society to design and continuously perfect our institutions. That is, I going to see that the schools require to be modified in terms of their education. I see that the history that has been taught that requires to be completely modified in terms of its content, and I going to be using these for the purpose of personal and social development, both of them. That makes it a social justice. The social justice is not oriented, is justice oriented. Justice oriented, that means justice is not in law. Justice is all about how we treat each other. Justice is not in law. Justice is all about how we treat each other. And social justice is justice oriented, which is not subject to scrutiny at all. It is not subject to, it's not open to any question or questions. Because social justice at the same time is, it goes on to talk about a variety of aspects. It talks about that it talks that quality is not sameness. And when we're going to say quality is not sameness, it's like maybe that a girl goes on to think that she wants to build her body. Bodybuilding is about being same with the boys. Girls have a different type of a quality which boys cannot go on to imbibe. Now it's like a boy thinking that is he will go on to become pregnant. That's sameness. Social justice is not about sameness. Both of these words happen to be different. Social justice is about equality of opportunity. That means when you go on to have a talent, when you can go to do certain things, and you're not able to realize the potential for want of finance and investment, you shouldn't go on to be stymied by the fact that finance is going to be an obstruction to, and it's going to be some type of a stymied operation to realizing your potential. Social justice is going to be all about monopolism, duopolism. That is, there's nothing that I go on to dominate, or one party goes on to dominate, or one company goes on to dominate, or one form of economy goes on to dominate in that region. So social justice is a much more encompassing term and a word in this case. The purpose of economic prosperity is going to be very different. In general, economic prosperity is conceptualized in a very narrow term. Prosperity is considered synonymous to that of money. Now, having money is no doubt a critical aspect of prosperity, but it is just that one aspect of it. It's not only oriented towards making more money. It's if it is going to be only for increasing the GDP, then it's worthless because at every crime takes place, it increases GDP. After all, the thieves going to earn some money. All pollutants that you're going to put it in the atmosphere, then of course you must have done something to put these pollutants in the atmosphere. That increases GDP. Then you're going to manage these pollutants. That also goes on to increase the GDP. Then not only that part, there is all health problems created, increases the GDP because all of those health problems that have been created, what they will go on to do is that these health problems will require a doctor to manage it. That requires a hospital to manage it. So a doctor will go on to increase his income, and that will go on to add to GDP. So all affect and the people in the masses in a very negative manner. And all of those people who get affected are those who are receiving end of economic prosperity. That means it's not completely capitalistic. We don't going to say that economic prosperity is going to be completely capitalistic. If it is going to be completely capitalistic, it's no prosperity at all. Economic prosperity, such type of economic prosperity is essential. It's essential, that means economic prosperity where you have an option, you have wealth, and you can go to use this wealth, you have access to the wealth, and you don't go on to find yourself insecure in trying to have this access and distributing it also. Economic prosperity is essential for serving people. It is essential for aiding people. It is essential for improving the lives of the people. It is essential for cleansing the systems, that is that one that is existing. It is essential for reforming situations, that is any situation. Maybe it is going to be a traffic situation. It is essential for finding solutions. Only when such a prosperity exists, social justice is ensured. Without that, it's not ensured at all. Without an ability to serve people, without an ability and willingness to improve their lives and make their thinking progressive, not regressive, making their thinking progressive and better, economic prosperity has again no meaning at all. Because for what purpose are you going to be doing this economic prosperity? So we are talking about, that is the purpose of economic prosperity is going to be very, very different. So if economic prosperity goes on to get confined to only the hands of few people, then maybe only for some individuals, it's again no prosperity at all. If economic prosperity goes on to get confined to few houses, few families, few influences, few class or categories of people, it's no social justice at all. The dangers that are going to be related to social capital is going to be many of them. That is, the dangers related to economic prosperity is that it is going to be taken advantage of, and it is made misuse by some people who are able to wield influence and who are able to have a policy intervention as well. Thus, if economic prosperity exists, but exists without social justice, then it will be worthless. We repeat, if economic prosperity exists, but exists without social justice, it is going to be worthless. It will be, by and large, meaningless. And how is it that, and why is it that it will be meaningless? It will be meaningless because of a lot of reasons here. As we are going to say, it is going to be meaningless because of many reasons here. For example, we are going to be talking about many aspects associated with it. One of these aspects is that going to be prosperity is not going to be kept in a lockers of sorts. It is not economic prosperity, rather the confinement of the wealth that is going to be a problem in this case. We are going to be talking about it's not only economic prosperity, but the confinement of wealth in the hands of few people that is a problem. A wide disparity in this case will go to ensue. That disparities go on to exist, and they will be sustained as well. Now, this sustenance is going to be very significant and very troublesome as well. What is the purpose of prosperity if people are not served? We are going to be talking about if people are not going to be served at all, then there is no prosperity at all. If the prosperity doesn't permeate to the people, if the prosperity doesn't make the lives better, if the prosperity doesn't make the living conditions better, then of course it is not prosperous. It can be anything but not prosperous at all. But then there are other aspects of prosperity without social justice which cannot work, and they are going to include. There are many aspects of prosperity without social justice which cannot go to work, and they are the ones that will go to include. One of them is associated with robust job market. Now, basically means where employment is available and opportunities for advancement abound. Now, this can be best provided by building community training and allowing people to work for as a social capital is this can be best provided by building community training and allowing people to work for, because social capital, if financial capital is not available, that means only with the help of social capital you will go to allow a good number of people to get employment because all of them aid other of them. Now, it was this social capital which was so significant during what we call it as Ram Raj. It is the same concept that has been worked upon in some portions of Italy, some portions of Brazil, and they coined this new word. We talked about Vasudha Kutumbakam, but then they coined this new term, social capital, and we happen to be following all of it, this new term. So it is going to be social capital. Then unemployment environment. Unemployment environment where upward mobility is based on hard work and on the acquisition of formal and informal education and training. Now, this will require a competitive and a motivative environment. It cannot be if you know that whatever hard work that you can go to put, it is going to be usurped by someone who has been able to wield some type of influence in this case. The third is a society where invention is encouraged. Now, in a prosperous economy, individuals are able to innovate because they go to think. Now, we'll go on to give you an example. India used to be a prosperous society prior to the Muslim invasion in the country. And the king used to be a mathematician, the king used to be a singer, the king used to be an artist. The whole of the country used to be an artist. And what their pastime was, they used to build temples. They used to do carvings on the temple. They used to build palaces and used to do carvings on the palaces. They used to do paintings. Now that is what was invention. And of course there were a lot of other inventions as well. So a society where invention is encouraged what exactly is a prosperous society? In a prosperous economy, individuals are able to innovate, creating new and better products. They are able to create new services and ways of doing things also. Now, this requires an aspirational milieu. That means an aspirational environment. That means an aspirational atmosphere where identity of the citizens are going to be respected and that is going to be cared as well. That is, if someone doesn't want to respect your identity, then that really goes on to become a problem of sorts in this case. Without social justice, there is no way that you can go on to bring the best from the people, because we cannot go on to create a motivating environment for them and an aspirational milieu also for them. Also, economic prosperity must not forget that people always work for themselves, for their identity, for their aspiration, for getting the best out of themselves, and prosperity must aim at providing these things best to the people. A prosperous society also extends far beyond the working world because it goes on to include a lot of aspects. For example, it goes on to include a lot of feelings also in this case. A prosperous society extends much beyond the working world and includes an aspirational education system we are going to be talking about. And when we talk about an aspirational education system where children are not only the basics, but critical thinking, design thinking, and they're given the tools and confidence to aspire and dream. Without social justice, we cannot manage talent and aspirations of the people. We cannot manage creative pursuits that cause an instrument in bringing true prosperity. Of course, social justice goes on to talk about healthcare systems as well, and includes a clean and sustainable environment which can never be an individual effort. How is it that we can go on to provide a clean and sustainable environment and it can be an individual effort? I go on to clean it, some other people can go on to litter it. So that is going to be significant. It includes and encourages empathy by its citizens to care for the less fortunate people in the society, because without them, they will go on to become divine, they will go on to rot, they will go on to become an eyesore for you, and that definitely requires an attitude and attitudinal change in this case. What we are going to be talking about is, in short, our view of prosperous society is one that offers opportunities for everyone for personal and professional fulfillment. And this cannot take place without people's participation. This cannot take place without the society caring for all of the people concerned. So without social justice, we cannot ensure all-round development at all. Prosperity is not something that can be kept in lockers. It is not to be. It is not to be showcased, not to be flaunted. Not exactly that you're going to say that we are a very prosperous country, we are a very prosperous community, and even if it is going to be flaunted, it can be flaunted only by making the people prosperous. It is the people who are going to flaunt it. It's the people who are the best. They are the best flaunting mechanism in this case, and that's what we're going to talk about in this case. That is, if the people start flaunting this, can you imagine the state of the society? Social justice distributed over people in their satisfaction, in their contribution, in their happiness. That means the people being happy, being contented, and able to feel safe in that place, they will go on to bring about a lot of prosperity. And that is the best indicator. And that's the reason that we're going to say, we're going to come back to the same sentence from where we actually began. That is, economic prosperity may be something, but then social justice is going to be required for that purpose. And without that, there is nothing that we can actually go on to do. There can be no social justice without economic prosperity. But even if economic prosperity takes place, the social justice, it is completely meaningless. That is what we have to conclude, and that is where we have concluded that part.
We are thankful to Shri K. Siddhartha for sharing his valuable time with us. To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.